Hi Nitin, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, Amit. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a great opportunity for me to talk to you after so many months of you pursuing this idea in our community, and you're promoting a lot of ideas through AI at Flightbase initiative. I really love that idea where you're truly showcasing rather than people talking a lot that okay, I can do this, I can do that, but here is this thing, it has done it. And
Mhm.
why not lead by example or lead by things which people have actually done and they can share?
Right.
So that's a lovely initiative, Nitin, which I've done, and I've been trying to replicate something similar at Incurious, because one of the things what we do as our day-to-day job is to how do we help people become better at what they do
Mhm.
at
Mhm.
so any organization you pick up today is a data driven organization, and we can say it is a data and AI first organization. This is what every organization should aspire to, right?
Mhm.
Needs people with skills, and now we the world is kind of divided into BC. It's like before chat gpt, the definition has changed, and after chat gpt, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
the skills which people used to have, yes, it matters a lot, but I
Mhm.
think the what AI has brought is it has added that motor, that engine, which is kind of somehow boosting those skills and making things done at acceptable level of quality.
Right. Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So, and interestingly, Flightbase being in an area which is deep tech, which is, and I was going through the Flightbase website and what Flightbase does, enterprise drone related thing, and there's a lot of pieces which I could see. I mean, it was not easy to grasp all those. Like, okay, what is that entire thing? But at the same time, the entire picture is that okay, it is AI driven, AI first. AI is playing a big role in that.
Mhm.
What I would like to know first, would like to take a snapshot about your career background and how you have evolved. And then I would like to know your views into how AI has impacted how Flightways has been doing it, right? Although you have been showcasing it, but it would be a lot better to hear it from you directly. And yeah, looking forward to learn from you.
Sure, sure. So first of all, thank you, Amit, for having me. It's a great opportunity to talk to you and through this, maybe share with the wider audience as to what we have been doing at Flightbase, what our thought process is, and how we are going about it, and hopefully, like it can help other founders, other people in the community as well. So, no, thanks for giving this opportunity. So let me start with your first question. That is, let me give share with you my background or what my journey has been so far, briefly, and then talk about the AI transformation journey that we are going through at Flightbase. So my personal background is I am a graduate from IIT Bombay, did aerospace engineering almost 20 years ago, and then did my master's in aerospace from University of Maryland in the US. So I've been working in aerospace, particularly within aerospace. I've been focused on aerial robotics, which is like drones or UAVs. So basically designing these aerial robots and making them autonomous. So autonomy or intelligence has always been theme of my work. Earlier, all this intelligence was sort of through deterministic systems, through control systems, or through machine learning, little bit of machine learning, but a lot of computer vision and other algorithms, which are still deterministic, where you are trying to understand the environment and you are trying to codify that if this happens, do this, if this happens, do this. So it's still very algorithmic driven or very deterministic kind of approach to making things smart, making things intelligent or autonomous. But the way we think about intelligence now with AI is completely different from how we used to think about it like few years ago, because now it's all generative AI and it's all about like systems that are able to reason, that are able to think, and that has opened up a whole new world of possibilities. And we are going from like deterministic systems towards probabilistic systems, and it's the first time that probabilistic systems are able to think, reason, act almost like humans, or at least they are going in that direction. And yeah, I mean that totally opens up a whole new world of a different nature of robots, a different nature of machines that did not exist a couple of years ago. And that is what has been very, very exciting for us, because fundamentally as a company working on autonomous systems or intelligent systems, this is something of our immediate interest. And as these new possibilities became available, we started questioning and figuring out, okay, what does this mean? And the more we tried to think about it, or kind of brainstorm around it, we realize that it is like, for example, in mathematics you have the concept of real numbers and then imaginary numbers, and then you have complex numbers, which are a combination of your real numbers and imaginary numbers, right? And that concept of imaginary numbers is very hard to understand initially, but once you do and you are able to now understand how to leverage real numbers and imaginary numbers together to create these complex numbers, you realize that it's a whole new world of possibilities, right?
Mm.
So similarly, in computing, whatever existed earlier was all deterministic. What was like, we used to write code, we used to define every single step for what we want the machine to do, right? But now with Gen AI, with all this like recent developments in AI, this is the first time that we have probabilistic systems where the same input will not give you the exact same output, right? For many people it is unnerving, for many people it is very uncomfortable, that if I am asking it to do something, why is it doing different things every time? And they see it as a bug. And like, I have had these discussions with many people where they are like arguing and discussing that why AI is useless, because it is giving different answers every time. So they are looking at it as a bug, but it's a feature. Because as humans, if I ask you, how are you feeling, Amit? Your answer right now will be different, and after 2 hours it will be different, or even after a minute it will be different, because you're not trying to memorize it, you're trying to rethink what the answer should be, and you are generating that answer as you speak, right? So
And
your
there is
answer will be
and there's a lot of addition of context every time. Like
exactly.
I had a conversation and I come back and I'll be completely different answer coming out of me.
Exactly. So that is an aspect that we need to look in the right light. We should not be trying to benchmark AI with traditional compute. We should not be trying to benchmark a probabilistic system with a deterministic system and claiming that this is not good because it is not behaving like a deterministic system, because it is not supposed to behave like a deterministic system, and that's the whole point. And this is where what we realized is that it needs a mindset change. It is in some sense a little bit less about skills right now. It's more about mindset change. It's more about understanding how to even think about it, how to look at it. Because if we look at it from a wrong lens, we will not be able to leverage it fully, and we will not be able to understand how to harness that power that has become available. So it's a new paradigm of computing which has opened up, which did not exist a couple of years ago. And this new paradigm of computing will call for development of lot of layers on top before we can truly harness its power. So a lot of applications are still kind of getting built, and they will be built in next few years, which will truly unlock and help us like put all that power to use, harness that power for our real world applications. And that is the journey that, like, I think this industry is going through right now.
It's like the way software engineering evolved, right, over the years, where earlier it was very static page systems. Then we had changes, revolutions in front end, back end, because but in the end everything was deterministic. Data in, if
Yes,
else, data out. Now
exactly.
with the entire paradigm shifting to probabilistic systems, right?
Right.
So I think this entire stack needs to be built from grounds up to kind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is exactly the point. So it is not a new set of tools that is becoming available, but it's a fundamental reboot into a new operating system.
Hmm.
And as that happens, what that means for all of us is that we have to become AI native. We have to rewire ourselves, because we have always thought of machines or compute to work in a certain way, and now that fundamental assumption of how machines behave has changed. And because of that foundational change, we need to rewire ourselves to think of machines in a very different way, and to interact with them in a very different way, and to harness that power in a very different way.
Awesome. Awesome. So I have a hypothesis. The older we have been, right, into tech, harder it is for us to make the change. I
Absolutely.
I have a fresher who has joined my team. He is AI native by default AI native. I mean, he's on these tools. He's and all I say is that, hey, I have an idea. I sketch something and give it out to him, and he says that, okay, I'll do it. And then he uses somehow leverages it, builds something. He may not have a lot of idea about what he has built, but he has built something. It is working, and it is fascinating that he kind of turns it around so quickly. So
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
what in that way you are even more experienced, like you have a lot more time to spend in the traditional system. How do you make the switch, the mindset switch?
Right, so that's one of the biggest challenges of people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, because they have already worked with traditional systems way too long. So their own LLMs have been trained on data, on those deterministic systems, and they expect the world to behave in a certain way because of all that training that has gone into their human models. And then now retraining their models is a lot harder, because you have to unlearn and rewire everything. That sometimes is a lot harder than just like training a fresh model, right? So yeah, it's a big challenge, and that is why especially people who are in their 30s, 40s, they are at a big risk, because unless they rewire themselves, unless they start thinking of things in a very different way, it will be very difficult to survive. And that change is coming faster than we could imagine. No, it's coming very, very rapidly. And those are the people at biggest risk, because they are still in an age where they still have to make a living, they still have to do something meaningful with their lives. People who are in their like late 50s or whatever, they have already passed their kind of prime, and they are already like close to their sort of retirement. They've already done what they needed to do in their lives, and like they can be nice, like they can observe and just watch how all this chaos unfolds. But people who are in their 30s, 40s, they have a uphill task of rewiring themselves. And
Mm,
that is where they have to go about it very, very aggressively. They have to really engage with AI. They have to really start conducting as many experiments as they can. Right.
mm,
And I think that one of the biggest blockers that I have seen is that sense of like sense of pride or sense of esteem, that like I am an expert. I have already worked in the industry for 5 years, 10 years or whatever. And
yeah,
that becomes the barrier to trying out new things. And that becomes a barrier because when you try out new things, there is no guarantee of success, right? There will be failures. And how comfortable are you with failing? Right. And younger guys, they don't have that baggage, right? They don't have that sort of a mindset that I have to succeed every single time. They are more comfortable experimenting because they are like anyway trying to learn, figure things out. So they are able to experiment much more because they are comfortable with the idea of failing.
right.
But the senior folks, they become very uncomfortable, and they start having a bad time if their experiments fail, and they start feeling lost and like demotivated, not valued. All those feelings, they prevent these people from trying out more and more experiments. So yes, that's a constant struggle, and we see it even at our organization, that some people who were doing very well before all this no before all this Gen AI, and they were very comfortable in whatever they were good at. It could be coding, it could be marketing, it could be anything else. They were doing very well, but the moment no Gen AI came about, and the moment there was a need for them to kind of let go of whatever they know and start experimenting from first principles, some of them are having a hard time. Some of them were able to quickly kind of rewire themselves and work very aggressively on it. But yes, some of them are having a hard time.
Awesome. So this makes me ask that, has any framework evolved? Do you see something which is say, okay, hey, here is a recipe. At least you should try this recipe, because again, everybody faces this challenge. Like you yourself say, okay, this is my baby. This is something which I have built, right? And now you're saying that, okay, this may not be relevant, or this the way of doing thing may not be relevant. So how do we put it around? So do we say that, okay, here's some ground rules, right? Everybody would be following, because unless you do it, one thing I've seen is that these bots, unless you chat with it, unless you ask, it's like something I'm thinking, okay, how do I get it done? Then I have to reframe that, okay, why am I thinking? Ask it straight away first, and
Yes.
let's understand its view. What does it think? Like, what do you think? right?
Right.
And
Right.
it led to a culture where earlier we were kind of pinging each other a lot. Say, hey, do you have some 5 minutes? Do you have some 2 minutes? It means
Mm,
productivity loss because one, I can't expect everybody to be responding to you every time. People
mm,
need their time to kind of dedicatedly work. And at the same time, how can I be more and more self-reliant? I figure
Correct.
it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yes, so the more deeply you think about it, the more deeply, and then you are able to come up with a framework or some set of principles completely derived from first principles that if AI is available, then why should you be pinging each other? Why should you be asking another human no, for answers when you have something available which is probably smarter than that person, at least in many regards, if not in every regard? And are you first harnessing the power of that artificial intelligence, of that intelligent being, which is artificial, before you go to another human? And exactly as you said, that like, so basically, you are able to now come up with some sort of guidelines or frameworks or principles completely from first principles thinking, that once this power is available to everyone, we need to push ourselves to think and do things in a very different way. And at Flightbase, we came up with 10 commandments. So we have like written down 10 commandments. And one of those is, of course, that before you go and talk to another human, make sure that you have like discussed and argued of like whatever you have on your mind with your AI. Without doing that, don't go and talk to another human because you would end up like kind of it's like two people who have half knowledge are trying to argue and come up with something, whereas there is somebody who probably had much more knowledge. Because there are so many topics in life, like even if you're trying to come up with a customer contract draft, you might not be aware of certain clauses or certain things, and maybe nobody in your team is that familiar with those things, but your AI models are, because they have been trained on all kinds of data. So why don't you first talk to that model and argue with it and brainstorm with it and like reach a certain level, and you might realize that that outcome is far superior than what you could have reached at by spending hours discussing with other team members. So yes, one of those is this, but there are like other nine commandments as well. Everything is focused on how to rewire ourselves, how to reorganize ourselves as a team. Like for example, do we really need large teams anymore? And large teams, are they the best way to get to outcomes? And the more you think about it, you realize that you need to have like very small teams. You should start with a single person team and add another person only if you are able to justify that you really need that person on the team, right? Because now you can just run and the barrier or the friction points are no longer execution is not the problem. The problem is human to human interface. That's
Mm,
the slowest interface. That's the bottleneck in getting things done. So the more you can reduce or eliminate that human to human interface and getting things done, the faster you can go. Because execution is now cheap,
mm,
but interface, like passing on information from one team to the next or one human to the next, that is
mm.
the expensive bit. And like unless you remove or reduce that, you won't be able to run fast.
That's true, but I would like to bring a perspective here. Is what happened with Klarna, a classic story, which said that okay, Klarna had said that okay, no more hiring of people, and like we are done, AI will
Hmm.
get everything done. And recent news we hear that it has started hiring people back.
Right.
So, what's your take on it? Like, what changed or like?
So, so see, my take on this would be, it's a like I would be happier being in position of Klarna than being in position of another company which is being very slow and sluggish and very careful in taking decisions. Because right now it's the time to experiment, right? And we have to stop looking at failure of experiments as a bug. It's a feature. And
Yeah,
it's good that Klarna experimented and learned something, and now they are doing an iteration. They will learn more, they will do another iteration. And drastic changes in strategy should not be looked down upon. They should be looked at the strength of the leadership, that the leadership was strong enough, or they had that visionary, like they were visionary enough to take those calls and revise those calls if things don't work, right? We have to become comfortable with experiments not working, as an at an organization level and at an individual level. Because if we try to like be fearful about experimenting, that I don't want to go back on this because it did not work, that will slow us down and that will prevent us from becoming AI native.
I get it. So now let's get to some ground realities. You have a running business,
Yes.
right? With customers,
Yes.
enterprise customers being there. Whatever we say, enterprises are extremely risk averse. They would not touch anything which is like running. It's like something which is running, don't touch it. Now we bring a revolutionary idea like AI that it will do this way, that way, and at the same time, your team, your own team would say, "Hey, I have a stable running system, right? You want to get experiments done, you want to kind of open it everything. I fear it shouldn't be a can of worms, right? So how do we handle? How do we tackle this? Is there something, or how do you reorganize teams to think? Because there are some cases which people, which is still the holy grail of that. Hey, you can't cross this line.
Right. So you have to figure out how do you build those guardrails that, okay, there are certain checkpoints, there are certain guardrails in place so that finally what is being delivered to the customer has been tested, it is reliable, the QA has been done. But whatever you do behind that guardrail is up for disruption, right? So, for example, you could still be using a lot of AI for all your internal stuff, but then you put those QA systems in place, those guardrails in place, so that whatever is generated, whatever is built, only goes to the customer after it has passed those QA tests, right? Uh,
And
hmm.
rather, AI has made your QA also better because earlier you had to think about a lot of use cases. And I remember that working with a QA person, I really need a person who is pessimist about code, right? You need a kind of inclination of that person to be a good tester. But
Mhm.
now you have a system, we had an intelligence which kind of knows almost all kind of use cases ever
Right.
tested, and
Right.
it will help you design better specs.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like one of the major efforts at Flightbase right now is how do we rethink, how do we build this QA so that we can do QA at scale? Because code generation is going to become cheaper and cheaper and easier and easier. So you'll be generating a lot of code, but the real challenge is going to be how do you ensure that whatever you have developed meets the specifications in terms of not only performance but also reliability, in terms of data security, in terms of like all other assurances that an enterprise customer would need. Because again, like Flightbase, we work with Fortune 500 kind of customers, right? Where uh, like they have a lot of concerns, exactly like what you shared few minutes ago. And whatever we deliver to them has to be that enterprise grade. And we are investing a lot of our time, resources, everything into building those layers using AI again. And how do we build out that no that system of QA which is able to guarantee those like is able to give us those assurances before we ship out anything to our customers.
Yeah. So I think what I see is the best way to start initiating AI is you first, right? Like, okay, let me do it and let me start passing on to the different teams, different departments, because starting from the customer is always a risk because you're serving enterprises and customers would not simply say, hey, go ahead and do it. It's not like that. It's the
Yes.
exact other
Yes.
way, right?
So one thing, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Amit, sir. Hmm.
Yeah. Exactly. So what I was trying to say is that what I have also observed is that start becoming you yourself becoming better. If we can become 10x efficient, I can actually serve 10x more customers. That's if that is the way to look at it. And make your marketing efficient, maybe make your operations efficient, your task management efficient. There are a lot of places where I think there's a lot of efficiency could be extracted.
Yes, so I'll tell you a few kind of insights in this direction, what we had at Flightbase. So yes, exactly what you said, that it is much easier and faster to do these loop closures internally, because see, with AI, what is most important is how fast you are closing your loops, how fast you are able to conduct experiments, learn from them, and then build out the next experiment and so on. So those loop closures have to be really, really fast. If you try to do your loop closures with customers in the loop, it will get slowed down, especially if you're working with enterprise customers for exactly the reasons that you pointed out. So the fastest loop closures that you can have, especially when you're building an enterprise business, is doing it internally. If you're building a consumer business like Cursor or Windsurf or one of these things where it's more like a individual buyers or like small enterprises, there maybe it will work with doing the loop closure with the customer because they are like super responsive and you can find at least early adopters amongst a pool of millions of users. So there you can do fast loop closures even with customers. But for a company like ours, with where we only work with large enterprises, doing that loop closure with customers will not be fast enough. So we
Yeah.
did exactly what you are saying, that we decided to do our loop closures internally instead of bringing customers into the loop, so that we are able to first of all understand and harness the power of AI and become capable of building with AI and building things in the right way, right direction, etc. Most importantly, building that mindset. Like, what is that mindset? How should we approach AI? How should we be reorganizing our team? How should we be thinking about every function at Flightbase? So, for example, internally, whatever we do at customer success, with business development, with marketing, with no code development, with product design, product management, everything we are trying to reimagine with AI. It's not only being accelerated with AI, but reimagined with AI, because what we realized is the way the whole process that we used to follow before AI needs to be rethought. That process itself will change. So just accelerating is not good enough, but reimagining that what is the best way to go to the outcomes becomes very important. And the more you do that, the faster loop closures you are able to do, the more iterations you are able to do, and that becomes a very good positive feedback loop, because now your entire organization realizes how valuable this entire shift is and how to completely reboot your organization into an AI native organization. And once you do that, you are in a much better position to service your customers as well, because now with that mindset, you will be able to think and reimagine how your product should be and how you can deliver value to your customers in a very, very different way from what you used to do earlier. So becoming AI native, becoming like internally having that mindset, in my view, is the most important thing right now, because that will give you a long-term advantage. If you're only focusing on pushing out some AI features in your product without first becoming AI native, I
Yeah.
think that is a very short-term play, and that will not be good enough for for the long term.
I get it. I get it. I think that's very interesting because one, you get an opportunity to fail without risking customer failure, which is the ultimate failure for any
Correct.
business. Right.
Yes.
So, and second, you see, you learn anything you want to learn, you have to do it. And if you can provide a safer environment for people to play, say, hey, go ahead and fail, that's fine.
Yes.
Right. Because that's what you mentioned, that people are really, really scared. And especially if I have more baggage to carry, I have bigger failure to risk for.
Yes.
So, hey, here is a field, you go ahead and play. Even if you fail, doesn't matter. We have, I'm backing you. Something like
Right.
that. So
Right.
I think really, really gives that leverage to an organization to even make a framework that how to go native, AI native, right?
Mhm.
Nitin, I had a follow-up question. So, yes, as we are trying to become AI native, um, we are learning AI for itself, interacting with these tools. The use cases could be what I see on the AI at Flightbase YouTube channel. I see a lot of use cases being put up. I just wanted to share it once to showcase. Just give me a moment. Yes, Nitin. So what I can see is that from every team. So I see something where toolkit for build high quality websites. This is something I myself have been experimenting with. That okay, or always there have been a challenge that okay, how to get my website up and with acceptable quality and to have a flexibility to keep making changes. You have to depend on an agency, and that agency takes tons of time, and there is a lot of friction. This makes it super easy or super quick. Or something which I liked about this was Figma to production. This was again something which was very, very interesting, which again getting helping us to find out that okay, there are a lot of inefficiencies in that system. It's not that the system is wrong. And there could be a lot, as you said, human to human, the slowest interface. If you could reduce it or optimize it, I think we have an insane efficiency to take care of. right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And like again, whatever we are able to see right now is barely tip of the iceberg. What is about to come in the next few weeks, months is going to be no, even like few orders of magnitude more powerful than what we have seen. So we are going through this immense no, period of immense change and no, lot of dynamic stuff. It is unnerving for many people who look at careers and trajectory and like life as something where you learn in the initial few years and then you are just doing repeat, repeat, repeat and building processes and structures around what you have learned. For them, it is a very, very unnerving period. But at the same time, people who are curious, who want to learn, who are excited about new things, figuring things out, it's like it's the best time ever, right? So like personally, I am super excited. I am learning every day. I am like so yeah, I mean there are a lot of challenges, but that's also fun, right? So like
Yeah.
going through those challenges, figuring things out, solving problems. So yeah, I mean I think if we approach it with that mindset of solving problems, learning new things, it's the best time ever.
Definitely, definitely. I myself see myself being insanely curious about things. So at the moment that friction is gone, where I have to, for example, I've been into this teaching and upskilling space where we have to constantly be abreast with the new things happening in technology, in AI, or in data, and the way these technologies are evolving, the way the knowledge is evolving. It's almost impossible for everybody to keep up with it. So,
Correct.
so it's always been the case that okay, how do you basically leverage this AI to kind of quickly get to the, and as you rightly said, right, these AI is at that level of thinking, almost PhD level thinking it has. So, and it is able to give you the first draft or the first set of ideas, what you should be doing. It really gives me a direction that okay, this could be a path. One is that you have to depend upon an expert's opinion, because who's an expert? An expert is an able who's able to see the solution end to end, visualize a solution end to end. And why end to end? Because this person has lived those experiences and for all these years built his knowledge. But now here is a system, he has an expert you can talk to, which immediately tells you this could be your path. But in the end, you are accountable for the actual outcome because you're going to build it, and there would be a lot of say detours on the way. Even
Mhm.
that, and I have experimented it myself because my career has not been of a software engineer ever. I've been more into data analytics, AI, and all. But I thought, like, why can't I learn to build a website or my own software application? For long, I wanted to build a personal, my own, say, personal website. How do you
Mhm.
do that? And I said, okay, let me start with this tool and
Mhm.
simply say, give my VS Code snapshot and say, help me start from here.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
that it has worked that way. It will say, okay, hey, do this, do this, do this.
Right, right, right,
Agent coming in with cursor agent coming in, I don't even have to do that. I have to create the spec document. That's it.
right, right, right,
You
right.
just
Yeah, so it's like amazing power is available. So you think of it like a genie. You have a genie at your disposal, and now it's up to you how you instruct it or what you ask it to do. So, for example, if you tell a genie to just make a house for you, now it will create a house, but unless you have given all these specifications of that house, unless you have clarified that you want so many rooms, you want so many washrooms, you want this kind of a living room, and you need this kind of aesthetics, unless you make all those specifications very, very clear, it will end up creating something that you may not like. Right. And then the problem is not that Genie is not good enough. The problem is that we have to learn how to work with that Genie. Right. So that is what I tell my team all the time, that whenever they are not getting good results with AI, instead of just blaming AI or saying that it doesn't work, let's think what can we do to make it work. So just reframing that problem as a problem that can be solved, and we can at least we make an effort of figuring out, okay, what can I do differently to make it work for me, instead of just giving up. And many times one shot or like initially, like whatever you ask it to do, it for very simple problems, yes, you will get a great outcome. But for many problems, especially when you're trying to take something to production, it could be marketing, it could be sales, it could be no anything, your product itself. It might not be able to take you to production in one shot, like website, like if you
yes.
just said that this is my content, take it and make a website, it will probably not come out the way you want it to be. But there, instead of just saying it doesn't work, let's figure out, okay, what is working, and whatever is not working, what can I do differently to make it work for me? Uh,
Yeah,
that reframing itself helps us get much better outcomes. It may still not be perfect, but we will be able to get to like 80-90% of the job at least, and then whatever minor is required, we do it like manually or whatever way is necessary today. But again, we have to look at the curve of change, like how things have been moving. And um, we were able to get to maybe 50% 3 months ago. Now we are able to get to like 70% or 80% today. And like in another 2 months, will it be 90%, 95%? And if that is the change like that we are able to see, then why not make the full use of it?
definitely, definitely. So I had a question where we are definitely starting with the place where to become AI native, to start internally, to start by ourselves. This definitely helps us to build the mindset, build the tools, play with it, right, and build something which could help the customer. Now coming to the customer side of it, so now we say, okay, whatever we do, ultimately we want to monetize those skills, to monetize those strengths. So now how do you approach, say, especially in your domain, which is highly data intensive, plus has a lot of security protocols and considerations around? Now, how do you build something which is a customer first, customer facing, which is a feature on your platform? How do you take that?
So how we have gone about it at Flightbase is, initially we did not start with, okay, let's add another AI feature to our product. We did not do that. And we said that whatever product we have today, how can we do our work much more efficiently, so that we are able to now release updates every week instead of like once in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. Can we accelerate that entire development chain? Similarly, can we accelerate customer success? So, for example, we have an academy, online academy, where we have courses, we have onboarding guides, everything. And there were gaps in all of that content. How can we utilize AI to fill in all those gaps very, very rapidly? Or like build courses or build content on items that we would not have taken otherwise, because those are kind of some special features of the product that are not the most important features. So we would have never gotten to doing those because that was not the most high value for the customers. But there are some customers who really need that. Now with AI, since the cost of creation of all that content has dropped so significantly, can we attempt to do all of that? Similarly, like proposals that we submit, or no, basically whatever we are doing today, how can we go get to 10x our productivity in terms of not only doing what we are doing, but also attempting to do things that were not the low hanging fruit, that were not the most easy items to do. Because earlier, our entire bandwidth was consumed in just like getting to those baseline items, but now we can go a notch above that. So just doing that was the initial kind of initial effort, and that effort itself paid off massively. Because like, while yes, as a business you are trying to create value for customers, but if you can create that value at a much lower cost, that also is a good business outcome, right? So earlier, whatever used to take like $100 to deliver to a customer, now if you can deliver the same value in $10 or $5, that's a good business outcome, right? And that is a easier thing, or like a more low hanging fruit in my view, especially when you're working with enterprise customers, because you don't want the product itself to change that drastically for the reasons that you mentioned earlier. But can you change the way you are delivering that value to customer? That in my view is the low hanging fruit when dealing with large enterprise customers. And then you gradually build out or have those conversations with customers, or build out those demos, internal demos, etc., where you are now trying to reimagine how the customer facing product looks like. And with, as an AI native product, how will it change the lives of your customers? And you can think of it as a parallel effort, as a like parallel effort where you are building out a new AI native product to service the same needs, but it in a very different way, in an AI native way. And you sign up maybe design partners, you start working with early like customers who are ahead in terms of technology adoption, who are more tech savvy, and you start working with few of those customers to do rapid iterations on this new product line or a parallel product, to deliver the same value but in a very different way, in an AI native way. right? So that has been the approach that we have taken, that like whatever is our current product, let's just continue selling it, pushing it, but in a much more efficient way, while we build out a parallel product which is a completely rethink of our product. So that
Hmm.
way we are not disrupting what exists, but at the same time we are able to do rapid experiments with something new and work with select customers who want to be AI first, who want to adopt that technology before anybody else, so that we have faster loop closures.
Right, definitely. I think something similar is what we have been thinking,
Mm,
because again, our industry upskilling is a very human first industry, where people, whoever they are working professionals, they need to upskill. So there is a human who is doing things. So
mm,
that person requires a human support also. But the
mm,
challenges we face is that at what level should I provide the support? Could there
mm.
be an AI support executive for me who could do
Right.
the job of that? The regular repeatable questions which people ask, could it
Mm,
answer those? And
mm,
there is a level after which the human mentor comes into picture and says, okay, this is a problem worth discussing or worth bringing a human.
mm,
So
mm,
value of I think the human service part has
mm.
gone up because of AI. And as you said that you show it why AI can't do it before I think about a human coming in. So
Right.
yeah, so the same human whom we said, okay, hey, I'm the senior one, I'm attached to it. Your value has actually gone way above if you see it that way.
Right, right. So, see, I often get into discussions with some founders and the thought processes around that. Okay, these are the things that AI will not be able to do, and that is why, no, let's continue doing or scale up these functions, because humans will always be required to do certain parts, right? I have a counter view to that kind of thought process, that why are we even discussing or debating what is it that AI will not be able to do, and then doubling down on human effort, saying that, okay, this will always be done by humans, so let me scale up my team to do these things. That is more like building shelters for tsunami. So if tsunami is able to strike you, you have two options. One is, I mean, there are three options. One is don't do anything about it and let tsunami hit you, and like kind of whatever happens, happens. But if you're smart, you would either be building shelter homes, you will be building a shelter so that when tsunami strikes, you are still safe. Right. And that is the thought process when you're saying that even with AI, these things will not be replaced, and humans will always be required by this. So that is like building a shelter home.
Hmm.
Versus, can you build a surfboard and say that when tsunami hits, I want to ride the tsunami, I want to surf the tsunami, right? And that is where you are saying that, okay, when AI hits, I want to leverage AI and offer something that is 100x more valuable to my customers with the full force of AI,
Hmm.
right? And I like, as a technologist, as a person excited about technology, building new products, etc., I am heavily biased towards building surfboards that why be afraid of AI, and instead, like, let's think of ideas with AI. How will the world change, and what can we do in order to bring that change, in order to become like participate in bringing that change instead of hiding away from that change.
Hmm. Hmm. That's a
So
pretty interesting thought,
yeah, I
Nitin.
mean, basically betting on AI instead of betting against AI. So,
So you're saying that, okay, it's always, I mean, it may pay off well if you bet rather than not to think about it.
yeah, I think it depends on the mindset. I mean, of course, there will be industries and there will be parts of work that will not be replaced with AI. Yes. But like, as an entrepreneur, are you more motivated to invest your time and energy into building out for those pieces which will
Hmm.
not be affected by AI? That
Hmm.
those are also valid businesses to build,
Hmm.
but maybe those businesses will not be. I mean, there will be limited growth potential there, because those things existed before AI and they will continue to exist after AI. So they will have their natural growth trajectory, and they will still be valuable businesses, probably like real estate before internet and after internet. Even after internet, you need offices, you need homes. So if you're in
Right.
that homes building business, you can continue building homes with or without internet. Internet does not really create a significant difference in how much more you can make or how much more value you can generate. But if you are building an internet business, and when internet is just arriving on the horizon, you
Right.
have a much bigger upside. You can create a
Yeah.
much bigger difference. You can create new categories, new things that did not exist before.
Very
And
much.
same is the case now with AI, and AI is like 100x or like several orders of magnitude bigger than what internet did to our world. And now with AI, would you be rather building something which is AI native, which will create that difference, make that change with AI, instead of betting on things that will not get affected by AI?
Very much. No, no, I get your point. So this brings me to the area which is of significant interest to me. Uh, what would humans do? How will the landscape of future of work look like? And at the same time, I would ask one more thing. How is the future of learning would look like, where both of us have gone through the traditional form of learning, the school, the college, the 16 years of spending time in that system, and then coming out, and then when you come out you have suddenly different kind of things to do with. So I would like to understand your perspective about both. You're so bullish on AI, so what are the humans going to do?
Sure. So yeah, I do have a point of view on those topics, and this is after like a lot of discussions, meditation, etc., thinking deeply about these topics. So one is work. Let's talk about work, right? So far, work has always been a source of living for most of us, right? There are very few people today in the world for whom work is not a source of their living. It is a source of their purpose or joy, etc., right? Most of the people work because they have to make a living. Right. And if you look at majority of people today, they are not really happy working. They are doing it just because they have to make a living.
Yeah.
Right? And that is the reason why you see all kind of negativity around work and Monday blues and this and that. They're not happy, right? They're just doing it because they have to do something to make a living.
Correct.
Right. And there are very few people who find purpose in their work, who are joyful at work, who are going to work because they would rather do that instead of like going on a vacation because they just enjoy that, right? Fundamentally, work has always been tied with making a living, fundamentally, like for most people. And what if they did not have to work for making for a living, right? If for example, you go to an airport, you go to a lounge, and in the airport lounge, or if you go to a buffet meal, you have food available, right? And you have place available where you can go and rest. But you don't just keep eating. Like at some point you stop eating, right? And if you have all the comforts, everything available, you still like you would be done with that, and you would want to do something else, right? You would want to do something that brings purpose to you, and that purpose could come from dancing, it could come from music, it could come from coding, it could come from driving, right? What will happen to work is that work will stop getting related to making a living. It will be more about finding your purpose and doing things that make you happy, that give you a sense of purpose and meaning to your life. And it is, in a way to think about it, think you are son of a king, right? And this king has all the opulence, all the riches, all the comforts, everything. And now, as the son of a king, what do you decide to do with your life? And you decide that you could either like indulge in all those luxuries and not do much beyond that, but you could also decide to pursue maybe yoga, or you may pursue that you want to do, you want to change lives of people in your jurisdiction. So you go and figure out like why are they unhappy, why are they sad, and what can you do to make them happy, right? So you will try and find something that gives purpose to your life, and that is again a choice. You might do that, or you might just indulge in luxuries and just do whatever you want with your life. I'll not try to judge you, but it's up to each person. So basically, how I think about work is that the way we have been thinking about it is very utilitarian, that you have to work in order to make a living, and in order to eat, in order to live, you need work. But what if everybody is son of a king? What
Mm.
if you don't have to work for your basic basic, yeah, your basic necessities? All those are taken care of. You have abundance, you have like foods available, you can walk into a mall, pick up whatever you want, bring it back. You have a lot of homes available, you can walk into any home and live there, etc., etc. So just like, I'm not saying exactly that utopia will happen, but I am saying that we are probably going to go in that direction. And a good mental model is, assume that all of this was available. What will you now do with your time? Right. And like there are still people today who enjoy horse riding. Right. And are they riding horses to go from place A to place B? Right. Riding a horse is no longer utilitarian. It is not no longer because you want to go to from place A to place B. It is more because you enjoy doing that. You want to do that because otherwise you have cars, you have other ways of getting
Yeah.
that job done. And riding horses is not the most efficient way to do it, but you still do it. So similarly, people will still be solving maths puzzles. People will still be writing code. People will still be driving. You will have autonomous cars, but people will indulge. People will say, no, I want to drive because I find joy in driving, right? So everything that we today will exist, but it will be done more from the point of view of finding joy and purpose in doing that, and not because you are doing it to make a living.
True, true. So now this coming down to the most fundamental question which I would have, which I see with my kid also, is that yes, they are leveraging these tools, but how do you define the line between, because people say that the people have outsourced their thinking capability completely, their cognitive capability is getting destroyed. So how do you see this, and how do you see the future of entire learning? Because education currently still prepares you for doing this, like work equal to living, right? So how do you see, what's your view about this entire learning change? How would you like your kids to evolve in this AI era?
Sure. So see again, think about son of a king, right? Son of a king still goes through education, not
Mm.
because that person has to go and work somewhere to make a living, but because that person needs to find the purpose, the calling, or like dedicate their lives to doing something, right? So like when we read Mahabharata or something, so they were like sons of kings, but they still went and learned about archery. They went and learned about like shastras or this or that or whatever, and only then they were able to pursue something later in their lives, right? So same thing will exist, that even in that age of abundance, yes, there will be a need for people to learn and do something in their youth in order to prepare themselves to do something bigger in their lives, not from a utilitarian point of view, but from the purpose of finding
Mm.
purpose and joy in what they do and fulfillment of their lives. And now coming to what kind of skills and things will be important, and like if everything is getting done by AI, what should people be learning and doing? If we think about that, uh, so what like there are a lot of discussions around it these days, even in other podcasts, other places, and what you realize is that even with AI, how you use AI or how you decide or what kind of problems you pick to solve with AI, and uh, do you even decide, like how do you even decide which problems to solve, etc., etc. So that level of curiosity, asking the right questions, is what is going to become more and more important, because once you ask a question, getting to answer, like answers will become cheaper and cheaper, but who asks the right questions will become harder and harder. So how you decide to use AI or what kind of problems you decide to solve with AI, be it human longevity, be it going to other planets, or be it solving cancer, except like global warming, climate change. So there are all kinds of big important problems that need to be solved, and who are the people who will think of solving these problems and ask the right questions in order to arrive at the solution. So those skills are that will become more and more important, instead of once you have a question finding the answer. Most of the education so far has been about that in a test you typically have questions, and the people are judged on their ability to find answers to those solutions.
Yeah.
What if it was reversed?
Mm.
What if the value was of asking questions, not coming up with answers, because answers like even AI can arrive at.
Very much, very much, and I believe that's happening because especially in my domain, earlier the expectation was, for example, the hiring tests or like any kind of tests for judging somebody's skill was every time to be able to produce some outcome, right?
Right.
Because generating outcome was a human skill. Machines never created an outcome, but now machines are generating outcome better than humans. So
Right.
that layer itself, it is pure economics that the outcome per engineer, per beginner engineer versus AI, that's a huge difference and it is falling further, right?
Correct. So just imagine a test paper is you have to come up with a good question and then solve that problem using AI, right? And now, like think of a hackathon or whatever, and suppose there was not a very well-defined problem statement given to you, and you were just told that figure out a problem and solve it. after 24 hours, when people come and present, there will be some people who were able to find very interesting problems to solve, and they have solved it and they are showing some results. Others are struggling with finding even a good problem to begin with. So
Hmm.
that's the difference. That's the difference. And people who are well educated or who have like that curiosity will come up with very interesting problems to solve and come up with answers using AI, whereas others will struggle.
And I think the entire idea of the education systems, the schools, colleges, was always to arouse curiosity. I think it was always the idea to begin with. But I think the social order changed it because the social order was all about that, okay, you have to earn because this entire economy used to run on transactions. But
Hmm.
as I said, that the entire thing, there is the democratization of knowledge. Knowledge is codified, right?
Hmm.
Now it's
Hmm.
all about that. Who earlier, like if you go to interview, people would like to know how much you know. But I
Hmm.
think the knowledge is already codified now. I would maybe rather check you with how here is a vague problem. I would like to see how do you discover that problem, present it better, structure it better, and how is your path to reality accelerated with the use of AI,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Correct, correct, correct. So,
Element
I
of
mean, starting from the same starting point, you will clearly see difference in how people are thinking of the problem statements themselves. And yeah, exactly. So basically, most of the schooling colleges, we give very well-defined problems for people to work on, and that has to stop. Like you can no longer be giving very well-defined problem statements, because if you define that problem so well, then like there is nothing to be done. So coming up with that problem statement itself is something that we will need to learn. Hmm.
amazing. So I think Nitin, there is lots of things on the table, and I think it is arriving much faster than we would anticipate. And I think for every organization, uh, from the foundation itself, as you said, I'll just try to summarize is that there is this AI speed. I think I've read in your book also that we have to move at AI speed, the speed at which it is coming in, because otherwise it's the tsunami, right? It's the tsunami which is going to throw you away. And I like the analogy which you put in about the surfboard rather than being building a shelter. So, if not better, let's bet on this tsunami and ride it for the good. And
Absolutely.
and definitely for when it comes to skilling, I mean, definitely to first of all the mindset has to be developed, um, as well as I think starting internal first, you first, right? Or we start with being efficient, being more cost efficient, which definitely helps us to find more space to serve customers better. And when you go to the customers, I think it's better to build AI in the fabric rather than build AI something which is just a show off, which kind of loses its value very quickly for the customers, right?
Right.
And I think finally the thoughts which you shared about this entire future of work, where it's going to be, I think it's going to be difficult to find right people because they will be so few. And but there is still an opportunity of everybody driven by curiosity, and I think people like us have to invest how to generate curiosity amongst people so that they can find their purpose, and that's the hardest thing to do, I believe.
Right, right. And I think this is where the new generation, because they will grow up in the age with AI, they will naturally be pushed towards building that muscle early on, because that will be the thing that will be expected from them every time, that come up with good questions to ask. So
Right.
they will grow up in that environment, and by the time they are in their 20s or 30s, they will naturally be much more curious, and they'll be much more like driven and agentic in terms of leveraging AI and getting things done. But yeah, people like us, we have a hard time, or like kind of building that muscle now. Yes.
Definitely. But I think I don't think it's a choice anymore. It's something
Yes.
which all of us have to embrace.
Yes.
Thanks, Nitin. Thanks a lot for your time. It was such a fascinating discussion. I think learned a lot, and I'm sure I'll be sharing a lot of my efforts and initiatives towards being AI native. Thanks a
Thanks.
lot.
Thanks,
But
Amit. Great conversation. Thanks again, and look forward to more such conversations in the future. Okay.
a lot.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.
Yes.
Bye.